Are you sure?
Here's the 30-second lesson on what legends know. Never ask a bride why she's getting married. Don't wear a skirt on a windy day. Deodorant is not a shower. Don't sniff chili flakes. And don't forget, saving is not investing. Legends don't just save, they invest in mutual funds. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Concluding the discussion on the President's address to both houses of Parliament in the current session, Prime Minister today delivered a long speech. A long speech, in fact, 5 minutes into his speech or maybe 8 minutes into his speech, he turned to the speaker and he said, अध्यक्ष जी, आज मैं कुछ ज़्यादा समय लूँगा, क्षमा कीजिएगा. Forgive me, I will take, or please permit me to take a little more time today. So this was an hour and a half long speech. In that he made many points, but 3 points first of all stand out. What I will do is, I will first tell you the 3 headline points from this. Those come also from an analysis, and then give you some highlights from the speech and also what these mean. And in some cases, I will also give you the context as specifically in the case of a reference he made to late Karpoori Thakur, the OBC leader who has only recently been given Bharat Ratna by his government. So on those, I will give you some context from history as well as we go along. So first of all, the 3 big highlights or my 3 big takeaways. Number 1, this was Prime Minister Modi's first big election speech for 2024. Now you might say that this government or this party, the BJP under Prime Minister Modi, is always in campaign mode. We say that all the time. Even on those considerations, while each one of his any other speeches or statements or his party, senior party leader speeches or public statements have an electoral message, this speech was purely an election speech. So this is the bugle for the campaign has been sounded by him in this speech in Parliament. That's why this speech had so much about the achievements, about what his governments have achieved in 2 terms, etc., and making comparisons with what happened in the past. That is the first point. The second point, very interestingly, the second point is that if you hear the speech or read the speech in its entirety, and I will share the link to the video, and in the course of time, or maybe by the time we publish this, we'll have the text available. I'll share the text also with you. If you read that, you will see that while he's setting up this election campaign, his attack in an election campaign, even when the incumbent goes out to campaign, first of all, the incumbent defends their own record and says, I've done such fantastic stuff, give me one more term. That is natural. It's also natural that the incumbent would attack their challengers. In this case, the Prime Minister has also done that, but the important thing is that the Prime Minister has attacked a party which today does not look like his strongest challenger. That is the Congress party, because the Prime Minister's challengers, BJP's challengers in different states are the regional parties in those states. Those are the ones who will deny BJP the seats. The Congress party, even if you look at the 52 seats it got in the last election, very few of those seats came at the cost of the BJP. In fact, wherever Congress party was up against the BJP, it was a fight between the Congress and the BJP. We've repeated this figure to you often enough, but the strike rate of the Congress party was just 6%. So any seats that the Congress won in 2019 or 2014, from 44 to 52 in the 2 elections, very few came at the expense of the BJP. So why is he attacking the Congress party so much? Why is he not attacking TMC or YSRCP or Naveen Patnaik's party or DMK? Those are the parties that can deny him the seats. Not even DMK, because the BJP does not matter there so much, but any of the other parties that can deny BJP the seats, he is not attacking them. He's attacking the Congress party. So once again, there is deeper politics there, which we need to talk about as we go along. And third highlight, very importantly, for the first time, the Prime Minister put a number to the seats that he is expecting. So he said, in fact, snarkily, as he often does talk, particularly in campaign speeches. He said, as far as the number is concerned, you've given the number ab ki bar, and that's because Mallikarjun Kharge was caught in that false moment when he used the expression 400 par. So he said ab ki bar, and BJP MPs in parliament said 400 par, and then he became a bit more precise, and he said, I'm not saying we may get 400 par, that is BJP get 400 par, but NDA will definitely get 400 par, that NDA will cross 400. Out of that, he said, the BJP will cross 370, which means he's only thinking that the other allies in NDA will get about 30 seats amongst themselves. That's also because NDA as an alliance has shrunk. That is something we've written about. I've written a national interest on it. We featured this fact in some episodes of Cut The Clutter as well, that with the BJP getting majority for the second time, a majority of its own, the importance of NDA has gone down. Many NDA allies have been lost. Shiv Sena was lost and then split. Akali Dal has been lost, and some other allies have also been lost. Maybe some new allies will be found, but if the Prime Minister is saying 370 plus 30, only 30 for NDA allies, then some of the likely NDA allies will be wondering what's going on, and this includes Telugu Desam parties, Chandrababu Naidu. So those are the three big high points from the speech. Then we get into some finer points that he raised. So first of all, I told you the numbers, 370 for the BJP and 400 for NDA. It's the first time that he has put a number to this. If you go anywhere in the country, people ask you whether these people might be BJP voters or those voting against the BJP. They ask you, what are the numbers likely to be? So the number has now been put by the front runner in this election. Who's put the target at 370? So basically it's to say, I think I'm getting 370. If you can try, if you want to stop me, try and stop me. That is the target that I have put in front of myself. So that's one. Second, the important thing, again, I will now tell you a bit more elaborately. I mentioned to you, these are all drawn from the first 3 points that I mentioned. The second one is his attack on the Congress party. Now, this probably is his most vicious, targeted and detailed attack on the Congress party. And this thread of anti-Congressism ran right across this long speech. Now, this is again fascinating given the fact that the Congress party is such a weak opposition right now to the BJP, because states where the Congress party gets its seats, the few seats that it gets, or states where it's likely to get its seats, are states where the BJP does not have such stakes. That is Tamil Nadu, Kerala, maybe a few in Telangana, places like that. Not very much elsewhere. And yet, a lot of the attack is at the Congress party. So is the Congress party then a kind of a proxy? Through the Congress party is attacking the opposition? Or maybe it is good politics for him, it suits him, and it's clever politics for him to attack only the Congress party to further drive a wedge between the Congress and the others who came together. India Bloc, where he said they used the alphabet I twice to make it more of a Ghamandiya, ego-driven alliance. That's why they used the letter I twice. So that was a snarky comment from him. But see his attack on the Congress party. He said, for example, Congress party ki sust raftar. So besides other things, dynasty rule and all, I will come to that. He attacked the Congress party for moving slowly, sust raftar. They said they move very slowly on everything. He said the Congress party's outgoing finance minister in his interim budget in 2014 said that in 30 years, India will become the third largest economy in the world, and took pride in that speech in India being the 11th largest economy in the world. So obviously, he made fun of that, and he said that is because Congress party moves at a very slow speed. And then he used the expression for the Congress party and Congress style of governance is atki, bhatki, latki. Atki is paralyzed, They were accused of policy paralysis from 2010 onwards, 2010 to 2014. Bhatki, which doesn't know its way, so it's just wandering around aimlessly. And latki. which is caught in indecision. So that is how he described the Congress style of governance as. And he said that Congress party was building, electrifying railways so slowly that the 40,000 kilometers we've electrified in the last 10 years, if we were doing it at the speed of the Congress party, would have taken 80 years. That is 40,000 kilometers. He said the problem is with the Congress party is that they've been trying to launch the same product all the time. That is obviously Rahul Gandhi. They've been trying to launch the same product all the time. In the process of trying to relaunch the same product again and again, their own dukaan, their own shop is shutting. And he says, don't mind my calling your operation or your organization as a dukaan, because you are the ones who've used that expression about yourselves. That's because the Congress party, Rahul Gandhi said, Mohabbat ki dukaan. In fact, they said, Nafrat ke bazaar mein Mohabbat ki dukaan. That was during the first yatra by Rahul Gandhi, the Bharat Jodo Yatra. He took cracks at Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary. And he said, look, you are saying the same thing as other people used to say. You are now sitting here. I know that you have compulsions. You keep running away from here to serve the leader of the dynasty. That is the fate of all Congress leaders. In the process, Mallikarjun Kharge went to the other house, that is Rajya Sabha, from Lok Sabha. In that same process, because of the same reason, Ghulam Nabi Azad, who was also leader of the house, he's also left the house and he's launched a party of his own. So he took that swipe at Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary. And he said, what has the Congress done? And again, without naming Rahul Gandhi, he says they've just learned the skill to be a motor mechanic. That is because of the videos that came out, Instagram posts that came out of Rahul Gandhi learning to repair motor vehicles, right? Or working with motor vehicle repair walas, mistries. He said they might have just tried to learn how to repair motor vehicles. In the process, they put together an alliance and they've destroyed the alignment of the alliance. That is again using a motor mechanics metaphor. And what is this alliance? How does he describe this alliance? He says that Congress party first put together an alliance of people who were disparate political forces. He doesn't say that. That's my interpretation, because he uses the expression Bhanumati ka kunba joda. Now, Bhanumati ka kunba joda is a very Hindi expression. So I don't know what the exact translation would be. That will be familiar to people who speak other language, because a lot of our viewers are from other parts of the country who may not at least know the intricacies of Hindi language metaphor. But Bhanumati ka kunba, in fact, the full metaphor is kahin ki eat, kahin ka roda, Bhanumati ne kunba joda. That means you pick up a brick from somewhere, a pebble, a stone from somewhere, put it all together, and then say, this is my household. Which means when one doesn't fit the other. So Congress put together an alliance which was like the proverbial Bhanumati ka kunba, and after that they abandoned it. After putting together this alliance, Bhanumati ka kunba, an unlikely alliance of unlikely partners. After they put it together, they decided on their own on a policy of ekla chalo re, that they'll go entirely on their own and dump the alliance. And in the process, he said, Congress party has been damaging everybody. Sabka nuksan kiya, they've damaged everybody. Khud ka, that is, they've damaged themselves. Sansad ka, they've damaged parliament. Vipaksh ka, they've damaged the opposition. Or desh ka, they've damaged the country as well. Then he also pulled out something that we read about in other debates on liberal campuses in the US and generally in the quote-unquote liberal circles. That is cancel culture. And he said Congress party practices cancel culture. What that means is, in his books, that whenever government of India or his government does anything good or says anything good, Swachh Bharat, Aatmanirbharta, Make in India, etc., Congress decides to cancel it. So he's used that also to attack the Congress. Once again, the point is that almost 95%, I would say in terms of his attack on the opposition, almost 100% is on the Congress. Some of it indirectly might be on the families of Lalu Prasad Yadav and the dynasty of Mulayam Singh Yadav. Those two are indirect, or maybe a little bit of Mamata Banerjee as well. That's when he's talking about dynasties and making a distinction between what he sees as a bad dynastic rule, and what he also sees a non-objectionable phenomenon of many members of the same family being in politics and doing well in politics, even in the same party. He shows sensitivity to the fact that he's been under attack, that BJP is under attack on the issue of social justice, and that's how the caste census came in, and that's how this old idea, jiski jitni uska utna hak. He has countered it, first of all, by giving the author of that policy, of that idea, Bharat Ratna, by owning him up when so many of these so-called social justice governments had failed to do this. After all, third front governments have been in power in India, fourth front governments have been in power in India. A Congress government leading the UPA, which included all the third front parties or caste-based or social justice parties or OBC-based parties, they've been in power for 10 years in India. They did not do this for Karpoori Thakur, but he has done that. So, first of all, he's done that. And then he says, you guys keep on talking about OBCs. And you keep saying, how many OBCs are there in positions of power in India? That is a reference to something that Rahul Gandhi said when he said that of the so many, almost 100 full secretaries in Government of India, only a handful, or in fact, just a few are OBCs. That is to underline the idea that OBCs are marginalized in the power structure. And he says, you keep saying that without looking at the biggest OBC sitting in the power structure. That is a reference to himself. He doesn't say it's a reference to me, but everybody gets the message in Parliament while he's speaking. Then on the issue of Karpoori Thakur in particular, he says the Congress party talks about OBCs and social justice, but in 1987, when Congress party had so much power, they could have done anything. 1987, by the way, is when the Congress party had 400 plus seats in Lok Sabha in Delhi and also ruled most of the states. He said in that year, they did not even let Karpoori Thakur become leader of the opposition, on the ground, on the argument that Karpoori Thakur did not respect the constitution. Now he said that, so I called DK Singh, our political editor, who's right now traveling in Bihar. In fact, he's also traveling a little bit with Prashant Kishore to see what Prashant Kishore has been doing. I called him there and I asked him, what is this Karpoori Thakur episode? Because I did not immediately connect. Especially because Karpoori Thakur was then not in Parliament. He was not then in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. So he and Deepak Mishra, who's our contributing correspondent from Patna, they pulled out this nugget. The nugget was that in 1987, in Bihar Assembly, it is something that happened in Bihar Assembly in 1987. That is when the anti-defection law had been passed. So Shiv Chandra Jha, the Speaker of Bihar Assembly then, he asked all parties and all MLAs to sign their support or their acceptance of the anti-defection law. Karpoori Thakur wasn't able to give a letter from all his party's MLAs supporting the anti-defection law. And because he was not able to submit that letter in time, the number of his MLAs who might have written that letter, that fell below 10% in the state assembly. Because they fell below 10% in the state assembly, the speaker, Shiv Chandra Jha, said, look, you have not fulfilled your constitutional responsibility. You no longer have the numbers to be leader of the opposition. That's why I cannot give you the position of leader of the opposition. And he was removed as LOP, leader of the opposition at that point. So maybe the Prime Minister gave us an overly simplified version of this, but the fact is that the real event did happen. Again, the important thing is that the Prime Minister of India, who wasn't active in politics in 1987, he either has so much historic knowledge of his own or has such a good support system that he's been able to pull out this nugget in this debate and to add this in this important speech in Parliament. The other very important thing and very interesting thing the Prime Minister said, for the first time, he's never said it, for the first time, he talked about dynasty and he nuanced it. Because as he started talking about dynasty, he said the Congress party has suffered because of its obsession with dynasty. And in the process, it has destroyed itself. I told you the expression earlier. They've damaged themselves, they've damaged parliament, they've damaged the opposition, and they've damaged the country. That said, as he was saying that, some voices from the opposition benches rose, asking, what about people in your own party? What about dynasties in your own party? And references then were to Defense Minister Rajnath Singh and Home Minister Amit Shah. Now, Rajnath Singh's son is a politician. He's an elected legislator from the BJP. Amit Shah's son, as we know, heads BCCI. Heads BCCI is the most key figure in, he's not the president of BCCI, but he is the key figure in BCCI. He pretty much runs BCCI. The Prime Minister, instead of ducking it, actually joined this argument. And he said, if in one family, if in the same family, several people join public life, several people become politicians, or several people join a profession, and they do very well by the dint of their hard work and performance, they all grow. I have no problem with that. The problem arises with dynastic rule when the dynasty owns the party. When the dynasty owns the party, dynasty designs everything. The dynasty determines the policy, dynasty determines alliances. Dynasty, not exactly his words, but dynasty decides everything about the party. And where it is established that when one leader of the dynasty dies, their son and then their son and then their son or their offspring, when he says son, he means son or daughter, their offspring will automatically take over. What he's trying to tell you is that those dynasty-owned parties become non-meritocratic. Whereas in a large party like the BJP, that's the nuance he's making. There can be many members of the same family, but they will be competing with others, unlike members of the dynasties in dynasty-owned parties. So that's a distinction he has made in public for the first time, and that's where for the first time in public, he's also talked about the fact that there are many dynasties within his own party as well. And it is through this nuanced distinction that he's trying to justify one but attack the other. Now, I would suggest to you, I can't take an hour and 40 minutes explaining to you a speech of an hour and 40 minutes. It's a speech with many profound lines and many lines that we will analyze, that his friends and his adversaries will both analyze. In fact, adversaries in particular, they will be unwise not to analyze as they go ahead, particularly as the campaign is being set up. Finally, what this speech underlines to us is the value of Parliament. That Parliament is the place where people come and make their most important statements. This speech is probably one of the most important statements made by him and his party in the past 10 years. And this is a speech for history. And there are many speeches like that. Most of these made in Parliament, but many made elsewhere also. That is the reason that ThePrint has started a series called Great Speeches. And this is a series on great speeches in India's independent history since 1947. In fact, the latest in this series was something that we published just a couple of days ago. It was Lal Bahadur Shastri's speech in 1964 when the country was going through grave crisis. I will share a link with you. And if you go on that hashtag, you will also find other speeches in the same series. In fact, if you have any ideas and suggestions on which speeches we should feature going ahead, please do let me know. We have smart, bright people who will go to the archives and they will get the text and where possible, videos as well, so that these are now available for posterity.